This is creme, 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 creme.
Out to all patriots, all people who love them country bad, love them homeland, will never give it up to another nation. This happy we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This happy we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This time me name is Papa. Belize me come from the Belize City area. 110% Belize and proud of it, sir. Don't tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head and the Belize and dollar because this a feel we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Come on, this a feel we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. I know we should always help our neighbor, especially in time of a natural disaster. But this is not the case with Guatemala because the poor people will never say a man will start to get richer to the time in this happy happy. Like a letter because
Mr. Politician, we got to change the plans.
God have mercy.
Mr. Politician, we got to change the plans.
Morning and welcome to Sunday Review for this morning, Sunday, April 13th, 2025, last night of a full moon. And it's time to make sense of the news. I'm the producer and host of Belize's only news review talk show here on XTV, simulcasting on Creme Radio, live streaming on XTV Belize YouTube and XTV Belize Facebook. Local channel, XTV Belize, local channel, Creme Radio. And we have the usual good troublemakers in the house. This morning, we have our co-host, Brother Mutota, citizen of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Brother Ako.
Good morning, Sister YaYa, and good morning to our listening audience, and good morning to our good brother from Haiti, Pierre LaBossiere. Me compare, as we say in Trinidad Creole.
Indeed, indeed. Good morning.
Morning, Brother Pierre.
Good morning,
brother.
Sister YaYa. Good morning, Brother Ako. A real pleasure to be here with you once again. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, Brother Pierre is no stranger. Besides devoting most of his life as a Haitian activist for the liberation of our Haitian sisters and brothers and the right for them to determine what is in their best interest and in that country's best interest, Brother Pierre has been here many times. As you know the norm, right, that our Caribbean correspondent, Brother Mutota, will give us some news reports from around the Caribbean. Then Brother Pierre want to tell you whatever he want we know about and why we trust and why it's credible. And then we get into what really happened on the ground at Haiti and how our people are continuing to resist in spite of the organizing, as has been for hundreds of years, of their murder, their dignity, the downtroddenness still yet with the complicity of Caribbean governments, some of them, European governments, governments in South America. But up here, want make we get a sense of what really happened on the ground. So, Brother Ako, Caribbean correspondent, teach me.
Good morning again, Sister YaYa. Hopefully I can teach this morning something from these reports. So the first report is from Suriname. The headline is UN experts urge Suriname to tackle deep-rooted racism and uplift African descendants. It reads as follows. Suriname has the opportunity to make a decisive break with the legacies of enslavement that permeate its society. In a powerful call to action following a 10-day fact-finding mission to Suriname, the United Nations Working Group of Experts on People of African Descent has urged the Surinamese government to confront entrenched racial inequalities and address the deep-seated legacies of enslavement and colonialism that continue to marginalize people of African descent, particularly the Maroon communities. The experts highlighted that Suriname stands at a critical juncture, one with the potential to make a transformative shift away from the historical legacy, from the historical injustices that have long shaped the lives of the country's largest demographic group. For those who may not know, the African descendants in Suriname, they are called Maroons. They have different groups like the Saramaka and the Jukas. They have lived in isolation They were runaway slaves, and they lived in isolation for hundreds of years and created communities deep in the jungles of Suriname. So this is what, and they are the largest demographic group in Suriname, and they have long been discriminated against. And so the UN is calling for Suriname to transform their attitudes towards these people who are Maroons and who have African descent. The second report is out of Jamaica. A number of older people may not know who Vybz Kartel is, but all the young people who know about Vybz Kartel. Vybz Kartel is a popular dancehall artist, and the headline out of Jamaica is that Vybz Kartel ends skin bleaching. Jamaican and world-renowned dancehall artist Vybz Kartel says his days of bleaching his skin to make him look lighter are over. Speaking on radio, the legendary performer said he had reviewed the practice and had decided to end it after several years. To quote him, I mean, in hindsight, it definitely had to do with self-love. But on the other hand, while I was doing it, my mind wasn't telling me that. My mind was telling me, I'm doing this to show my tattoos. I got a lot of tattoos. But looking back, it was just as a black man, sometimes we have those issues. But I would never bleach again. Fresh from recent performance in the Bahamas, where patrons complain about poor management of a show, Kartel says he's making other changes and is drastically cutting back on alcohol usage and cigarette smoking as he prepares to marry and settle down with his longtime girlfriend, Sidem Ozturk, and to raise, according to him very carefully, and to raise Turkish children. Vybz Kartel is dealing with personal ailments and is also preparing for a Caribbean tour that includes solo concerts. It's interesting that this issue of skin bleaching is very prominent in the Caribbean, especially in Jamaica. And what is interesting for me is the statement he made where he's going to marry his longtime girlfriend to raise Turkish children. Apparently, she's of Turkish descent. So he's not going to raise Jamaican children or raise African children. He's going to raise Turkish children. One has to understand that in the context of the popularity of these people among young people in the Caribbean. So this is very interesting. The next report is out of Cuba. And I think it's interesting because it deals with the subject of Vybz Kartel dysfunction. The Cuban government had a meeting on culture and the importance of culture. And the report is on Granma on April 1st. And it says, having established the consensus that the first thing to save in our society is culture, the question arises how to do it. Based on that question and the commitment of a sector that as stated by the Prime Minister Manuel Marrero Cruz, this sector has been a pillar of the cultural and political resistance of the revolution. The balance of work carried out by the Ministry of Culture in the year 2024 was articulated fully. Because the meeting was presided over by the President of the Republic, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez. And the analysis insisted on priorities such as stimulating artistic and literary creation with a decolonizing sense, ensuring the protection of heritage and the preservation of historical memory, as well as encouraging the participation of all segments of the population in cultural activities. Also highlighted were the use of science, technology, and innovation in the context of culture. The comprehensive training of artistic education to students and the efficiency of economic, financial, and administrative management as it works to develop the capacities for culture. The Minister of Culture stated that though progress has been made in greater spaces for dialogue with creators, it is necessary to deepen exchange, to deepen that exchange and to unite them in a permanent vindication of Cuba in order to, besides facing cultural colonization, fight against fascism. Taking cultural activities to the neighborhoods is one of the priorities of the Ministry of Culture. In the balance, it was assured that the institutional framework cannot turn its back to the artistic expressions that have emerged in conjunction with new technologies, but rather attend to them, and that the battle cannot be against a specific phenomenon, but rather against indecency, discrimination, and vulgarity. At the meeting, the Prime Minister insisted that artists and workers in this center must fight to preserve, in this sector, must fight to preserve identity and strengthen social cohesion, as well as to keep culture on a high level of development. So this is from Cuba, and it's very important because part of the neoliberal order is making us, colonizing us against cultural forms. So we may think Jay-Z is our friend. He's not. He's an American phenomenon that is used to confuse our people because of what they perceive as ethnic solidarity. One of the ways in which the Caribbean has been colonized is through the penetration of US culture. So the Cubans had a meeting and worked towards correcting this and putting a policy in place, to ensure that indigenous culture is propagated and sustained without this penetration of US culture, whether it comes in the form of Black people like ourselves or others. The other report is from Guyana, April 10th, and it reads, an interesting controversy is brewing in Guyana over suspicions that expanding offshore oil operations might be to blame for declining fish catches. Industry experts say that declines became noticeable, especially for shrimp as far back as 2013. However, the major local companies that fish think that the noise from exploratory drilling and chemical use in the process and increased activities from 3 oil fields currently in operation are the main reasons for declining returns. Commercial quantities of oil were discovered in 2015. 2 years after authorities said they noticed the returns were declining. American super major ExxonMobil leads a consortium producing around 650,000 barrels of oil daily. However, this week they declined to comment on the allegation that its operations are to blame, but it says it is bolstering the available data on local fisheries through a participatory fish study. The activities of the oil industry take place 160 kilometers from the shore, and they said few fishing vessels travel this area. However, chemical spills into the ocean, it seems, has caused fish eggs and other fish stock to be affected. For most vessels, fishing occurs in water depths of 30 meters or less, except for drift seine vessels, which may fish up to 60 meters in the deep. Large operators of fishing fleets have also expressed the view that they have noticed decline in fish stocks in the past few years. This is a serious situation, and the people of Guyana, where I was last week, have expressed to me that this situation of polluting the ocean seems to be the cause for declining fish stocks in Guyana, which was a main source of protein for Guyanese people. The other piece of news is from Barbados, which is interesting. The headline is Barbados charges ahead of the West with new electric buses. Barbados now have the largest fleet of electric buses in the Western Hemisphere, following the official handover of 30 additional vehicles from China on Friday. The donation, formalized during a ceremony at the Barbados Port Authority, brings the national fleet to 89 electric buses, part of the government's drive to modernize public transport and to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. The Minister of Transport revealed that the new buses are expected to enter service by May 1st and will be supported by 30 electric chargers also provided by China. This not only accelerates our clean energy transition, but also creates opportunities for improving the delivery of enhanced public transportation services to the people of Barbados, the minister said. With this addition, Barbados now stands as the largest provider of electric public buses in the Western Hemisphere. The handover marks the third batch of electric buses delivered to Barbados with China's support. Commercial Council of the Embassy of China described the event as a symbol of deepening bilateral ties. The initiative supports Barbados' 2030 target of 100% renewable energy and follows the rollout of a wider electric mobility program backed by the Green Climate Fund. The ministry previously shared that the transition is expected to cut fuel costs for the public service vehicle sector by half, from 20 million to 10 million annually. Officials have also confirmed that work is underway to expand charging infrastructure and maintenance capacity to accommodate the growing fleet. I think this is an important piece of news for the rest of the Caribbean, because electric vehicles are the way forward, and we need to accelerate this as quickly as possible and move away from fossil fuel. And the last report is from Cuba again, and this report is a very interesting report from Grandma, and the headline is Russian Vehicle Assembly in Cuba. The first Russian-made vehicle assembly in Cuba was the result of an agreement in 2024 between Cuba's Empresa Integral and the Russian firm Exo Export. According to the Cuban news agency, it was a milestone that marks the strengthening of industrial ties between the two countries. The contract establishes in its first phase the production of the Patriot and pickup models, while the second phase will include the assembly of light-duty vehicles of the Profile line. RT report also highlights among the joint projects of Moscow and Cuba is the launching of a brand of car called the Moscovich, according to the Russian energy organized, according to the mayor of the Russian capital, Sergei Sobyanin. He adds that they plan to provide the country with a batch of 50 vehicles to reinforce the cab fleet in Havana and Varadero. This is important because, as we all know, the US has been pressurizing Cuba, blockading Cuba, and Cuba have had very old cars, can't get past, they refuse to trade, countries refuse to trade. And so this is an important piece of news for Cuba as it breaks out of the isolation that the US and consequently the European countries have put Cuba in. So I think this is the end of the news here, and I think this is an important piece of information for the people of the Caribbean to understand. Thank you, Sister Yai.
Great work as usual, Brother Akko. Belize has electric buses too. I think maybe about 3.
Okay.
It was a collaborative effort. You touched on a number of things, Brother Akko. I think we need to have our show just to talk about the stories there, where you find and how critical it is. I had seen that Vibes Cartel and the cognitive dissonance of
Yes.
him being aware of himself as an African person, then in the same breath say, he go have some children with a non-African woman married to her. And there's a good chance he don't got some picnic with some other black woman who he never married to,
Yeah.
Good chance that they don't got some other children. But we are just talking about that. Good coverage, Brother Akko. Brother Pierre, tell us, because I like certain Belizean people, when you watch mainstream media or corporate media, those are singular narratives that are oftentimes not the truth or what happen in a community such as Haiti. So tell me why you don't want a trustworthy person, why Belizean people ought to listen, ought to then go and do their own research and find out more for themselves. Because that's one of the things people are asking, how do we know who to trust? How do we know which stories to believe?
One thing I can say, thank you once again for having me. One thing, and thank you, Brother Akko, for this presentation of news from the Caribbean. This is very exciting news and also very disconcerting. Good news that the brother has decided to stop bleaching, but also it's something that has resurfaced from the days when people used to say black is beautiful. We've always been beautiful, a beautiful people, but it seems that there is a consciously an intensification of going back to the old days of colonialism and racist attitudes to say that black is inferior, and this manifests itself in many ways with people bleaching their skins and what have you. We've seen that in Haiti as well, in a number of places, and it's time to fight back against it. And our people do fight back through mental decolonization, a campaign that is being waged in Haiti. What's happening in Haiti today? I would say Haiti is the canary in the coal mine, and that's the proverbial using the canary to see if the air is breathable, or if the canary dies, then people know, hey, it's not safe for anyone. And what's going on there is, to us Haitians, it's a return to what had been the colonization, the process of colonizing Africa. And as we are seeing videos from the ground, as those so-called gangs, as the press refers to them, again, I urge people not to use that term, and I thank you very much, Sister YaYa, for bringing that up at the last meeting that we had, the last webinar. It's important that we call them for what they are: terrorists, death squads, well organized, to bring back the recolonization of Haiti. And as we've heard on videos that they themselves have made, as they are burning down people's homes in Haiti, innocent people, people who have nothing, peasants' homes, people who are engaged in producing food, educators, clinics, doctors, institutions. They are saying, we are burning it just as the white man wants it. And I know that you are concerned about the use of some of those videos because of copyright laws, but that couldn't be more telling. This is actually, I've seen that at least 6 or 7 times in videos that these groups are putting out as they are burning down entire communities, entire neighborhoods, you see. And so the whole thing about, we need to drop this thing about so-called gangs, because it's an organized attempt to at recolonization and at the destruction of Haiti. This is not extreme hyperbole on my part. This is how the Haitian people feel about it. And on April 2nd, the community of Canapé Vert, which is a neighborhood in Port-au-Prince, it's one of the bastions of resistance. That community, along with Solino, they are bastions of resistance against this whole attempt to destroy neighbors, to destroy communities, killing people, burning down businesses. And so they had a very powerful demonstration. And I know you can show it again, as I mentioned earlier, but they had a very powerful demonstration of all the people uniting. One, to condemn the government for its inaction, in the most part, for its inaction regarding what's happening in Haiti. And because people are saying that even though those so-called gangs are out there announcing that they are coming to destroy the communities, yet nothing is done to stop them, you see. And it's only after they have committed all their rampage, they've burned down schools, hospitals, churches, institutions in the community, people's businesses, people's homes, and have massacred people. That's when later, a couple of days, so it's like trying to block the gate after the horse or the goat has left the scene. And so people turned out in massive demonstrations, demanding that the tax money they are paying the government to protect them, to make sure that the country is a state of laws, to make sure that they receive proper education, that schools are built, that hospitals are built, that the police is there to protect them, that those tax monies be used for their protection. And it was a very powerful demonstration. Some numbers have it close to 100,000 people, others, but it's tens of thousands who took to the streets. And very significantly, they have also pledged Canapé Vert is one of the bastions, and Solino, where the people are fighting back to protect their neighborhoods. And the fight back, what they are using is rocks and bottles and machetes and sticks. And this is against people with machine guns, death squads with machine guns that are killing our sisters and brothers. And so they are determined. They say they have no place to go. They will die right there in Haiti because this is the land that their foremothers and forefathers fought against the troops of Napoleon to free them from slavery, and they are not going to allow any group to destroy what they have built so painstakingly over the many decades, over 2 centuries, to bring them to a situation where they cannot live as dignified human beings in their country and to destroy what they have. There was a similar demonstration also in Tabar. Tabar is a community, is a neighborhood in downtown Port-au-Prince, not too far from Port-au-Prince. Not too far from the center of town, where paramilitary death squads again attacked the people in the region, in that community, and killed quite a number of people, burned down many houses. I don't have figures to tell you, because in a number of places the houses were burned with people inside of them. Some of these areas are unsafe for people to go and do a tally, and people have fled also, and so it's very hard to give you a true picture of what has happened. I can mention to you that in Keskov, which is in the mountains close to Port-au-Prince, that neighborhood, that community of Keskov, it was attacked in early February, and it's been estimated that over 262 people have been killed, and several houses, many houses were destroyed. This is a community of mostly rural folks, but also you have people who live there who build fancy houses in the mountains, and so this is where the mother was forced to watch her 2-month-old son being burned alive, and so this is what happened in that community. And it was about a month later that they were able to present an early estimate of how many people were killed. We are talking about this is the situation that's occurring on the ground in Haiti, and this is really in keeping with a letter, more precisely in a voice message, that a member of the elite in Haiti had publicized in early December 2016, as the people of Haiti were protesting the fraudulent elections that had taken place earlier. They were protesting the fraud because during that election, the person who got quote unquote elected was someone that the elite, the oligarchy in Haiti had handpicked and had financed his campaign, Jovenel Moïse, who later was assassinated in 2021. But, and the people of Haiti were so furious that the electoral process could have been taken over, and this fraud could have been perpetrated against the population, that people took to the streets in protest against it. And so what happened is one of the members of the elite put out a letter in which he said very clearly, and I say he because that was a man, and I translated the letter into English, which I will send to you. And he stated very clearly, in very racist language, that that he warned the Haitian people that they will be facing a war, basically, of extension, where they will use their monies because they control most of the economy in Haiti, meaning the elite. And he stated that. And they will use their money to buy people from the community, those who haven't been to school, those who are on the streets marginalized, to pay them so that they can wage war against the black people of Haiti. And he said those who have gone to school will pay them off so they can go on the radio stations, on TV stations, and lie and tell lies for us, And the purpose is to get the majority of the black people of Haiti to leave the country, to force them out, so that the country can be basically, we can have a new population of mixed blood, because we, the black people of Haiti, belong to Africa. The land belongs to the French. And this continues to be played on the Haitian. Many Haitians are commenting about it, particularly right now, because the details in that message, which was widely publicized, and it was a call for people in the elite to use their money to buy weapons to create exactly what we are seeing today. When you read that letter, or the translation of the voice message I will send you, you will see that's exactly what is going on the ground today. So it was an announcement of class warfare, as the elite in Haiti, that little ruling elite, is was saying was coming, and it has come. So what we have seen is that it's been a campaign that's been very much orchestrated from the very beginning. One, the destruction of the agricultural production to get the people to be in such a poverty-stricken place. Two, the destruction of the neighborhoods, of the public markets, of the farmers' markets has been systematic. Many of those markets were burned down very early on. We are talking about the early 2000s, 2010s, right after the earthquake. And we've seen this systematic, what they call in Haiti, decapitalization, meaning the decapitalization, the destruction of anything that the capital, that people, poor people, working class people have accumulated over the years. And finally, you have also, when the homes of the people are set ablaze, they lose their land titles, they lose everything. They lose birth certificates, anything at all that all the stuff that they have acquired, let's say refrigerator, TV, possessions that people have. And clothing, many people have barely escaped with the clothes on their back. And so everything is destroyed. And that way, it makes it easier for the land to be taken over, because you have no document to show that you own that land that you said you were on. So I'll stop right there, because I know it's quite detailed in terms of the details of what's happening. But it calls for great solidarity among the nations of the Caribbean, among the people of the Caribbean, to be in solidarity with the people of Haiti in their resistance against this this attempt to recolonize this land of black people that Haiti is. And this danger is, we have a saying in Creole, when, basically it's a saying all over the world, when something happens to your neighbor, when your neighbor's house catches on fire, you better watch out for your own home, and make sure that you can prevent that from happening to your own home. I'm just giving an interpretation of it. Le bab camarade prend du fait, mettez poêle à trempe. Make sure that you have enough humidity, enough moisture to protect your own house. And so I'll stop right there. Thank you.
Thanks, Brother Pierre. That was a lot, but it's not what we hear on mainstream media, which is why we have you here with today. We have to take a first break, but when we come back, we'll continue having the conversation with Brother Pierre LaBossiere, Haitian activist, and our co-host is here, Brother Ako Mutota. I know Brother Ako got a lot of things what he wants to say. So when I get to hear everybody 2 cents, stay tuned.
20 years ago,
We'll never give it up to another nation. Country
The
bad, bad.
second segment of Sunday Review with Brother Akko and Brother Pierre. And there's something I wasn't sensitive to in that first segment. Brother Pierre is not only a Haitian activist, he has family and friends in Haiti who are reporting back, who are suffering, who have transitioned. And so when he's sharing with us, it's not just, a correspondent reporting. It's emotionally taxing on his being to say these stories because it's happening in real time, and it's something I need to be sensitive to on Brother Pierre. And so I know it's a lot that we ask of you when you come to tell us what's happening on the ground in IT. Let me give Brother Akko an opportunity to get in on this conversation, Brother Akko.
So the report from Brother Pierre is really overwhelming emotionally and psychologically. What is happening in Haiti is, to put it mildly, a travesty. I mean, you can't find words to describe what is happening. I think the bigger picture is to understand the forces at play here, right? Because we tend to believe that it is a situation of warring political factions between gangs and political organizations. But that is not the case. What people need to understand is that the Western powers, especially the United States, has decided on a strategy of what Naomi Klein calls disaster capitalism, in which governments and progressive entities in a country that they don't like, they create chaos either through assassinations, through social and political instability like gangs, and so on. And these operatives are trained by them in some cases, and in most cases, and people are not making the link with these actions as part of a wider policy of instability. If you look at the situation in Syria, for example, in which jihadists overthrew the government of Assad, that they could not have done that without the intervention and the support of very powerful forces, including the US and Turkey in the case of Syria. It is the same thing in Haiti. You cannot, these guys like Barbecue and all these people, they could not have done that without the support of the West, particularly the United States. Right? And people are not making this connection. You know, we have to understand this is US imperialism at work, right? If these people were not working in the interest of the United States, they would have been dead. That's just the bottom line, right? They would have been dead. Or they would have been incarcerated in a US prison. I mean, the United States had a disagreement, one of their own agents, Noriega, went in there, fought a war, captured Noriega, okay? And he was in jail until he died. And when the US was finished with him, France took him and put him in jail. And the US, France, and Canada are part of this group in Haiti that is supposed to transition Haiti to a democratic process. So while the ongoings is terrible, the gang violence, the murders and the killing and the looting and the bombing of people, understand what is at play behind those things. And what my concern is, a brother was sharing something with me a couple of nights ago. This is why when I read the news, I spoke of this cultural problem in the Caribbean. We have an emergent culture of the Caribbean of more and more of our young people joining the US military. You understand? Joining the US military. And we do not understand. We see it as something benign. It is not. I remember a brother telling me some years ago, we were all talking about Colin Powell's Jamaican roots and how supportive he was of Jamaica and all of that. He listened to Calypso and so on. And he said to me, if the United States tell Colin Powell to bomb Jamaica tomorrow, he will do it. This was the man who was key in organizing the invasion of Grenada. So a lot of these operatives that you see in Haiti, sometimes are people who have lived in the US, people who are trained by foreign force, and we are not making that link. So these people are sometimes being repatriated back to the Caribbean and serving the interests not of our own people, but of interests that for centuries and generations have had our destruction as their prime motive. And this is what we must understand about the Haitian situation. The other thing I need to speak about is the level of disinformation that is taking place about it. Not just misinformation, but disinformation. I was looking at there's a professor, I think it's Jan Oberg, he's a Danish or one of the Scandinavian academics. And he said that the European Union is now using cognitive warfare against the people of Europe. We used to speak about cognitive dissonance, in which they propagandize things to confuse you. He said it has gone beyond cognitive dissonance. It has gone now to cognitive warfare. In other words, they are attacking your very brain. This is why, again, it comes back to this thing about Cuban culture. You see, through music, through food, through different things. And what is happening in Haiti is a full-out war to create chaos, is a war of cognitive dissonance. It is a cultural war because recently over 200, I think, voodoo practitioners were killed because they believe voodoo is central to sustaining Haiti's resistance. So these are the wider issues we need to understand and contextualize, and not just see these activities in Haiti as some gang warfare and murders and instability. It is organized and fueled from outside and supported by people who are sometimes conscious agents and unconscious agents. And this, to me, is the perspective and the context we must view those things in Haiti. The last point I want to make in terms of the land. Recently, I was looking at a program. I think it was Dr. Wolf, who is an economist. And he said since 1945, it has been the policy of the United States to create food dependence and to destroy food sovereignty. Haiti was a country that produced rice and was self-supported in terms of food. And the Clinton Foundation brought Arkansas rice and destroyed the rice production in Haiti to create dependency. And so we touting Clinton, and every black person of Providence who died, they bring in Bill Clinton to talk as if he's some person that loves black people. He does not. He's part of the criminal cartel that has Haiti in the situation in which it is there. And we must understand those things. This is not about some little Haitian guy with a gun. In the first place, how they got the guns. So it's a full-out war on Haiti. It's a cultural war. It's a war of cognitive dissonance and a psychology, what they call psychops. It's a war of culture to undermine all the elements and tenets that make Haiti what it is, a society of resistance and a society of liberation. And we must understand that in the wider context.
Big respect, brother. Akoya, bring on a lot of things to the front just now. And some of the things we stand out with too on us is, for a lot of we African descendants visualize as black people, especially in the diaspora Caribbean, we not see no connection with Haitian people other than them black like we. But because we don't know ourselves, we don't know our stories, we don't make that connection why we should be concerned. Why when that happened to them, it happened to we. And so there's a disc, and so I value whenever you bring up about culture, because culture tends to be performances. It's not a part of your identity as an African descendant with African value systems, such as our people in IT. And I want you to speak on that, Brother Pierre, because you hear, I mean, this is over 200 years that the first group of formerly enslaved people fought the European enslavers. Three, no? French, Spanish, and the English. And won. It's the first time in the world this has happened. And I'm like, oh no, I'll never forget it. And they're still resisting. And it is said that what started that revolution, what has sustained the people's resistance, is their African spirituality. And it's not, and if you could share some more, brother Pierre, it's not how a lot of Belizean people, for example, would overstand. One, they think that that's something low vibration, they think that's something bad. And because they themselves don't view, even within their organized religion, as a way of life. That they're not someone where you go past Sunday and Wednesday and you pass out truck and you have your leave meet. Like, what does it mean for Haitian people to have voodoo as a way of life, Brother Pierre, that has sustained them all these centuries?
Yes. Before I answer this question, and don't let me forget it because it's very key, very essential, very important. I want to pay tribute to all my sisters and brothers in Haiti who've been victims of this atrocious, intensified war. That's what it is, continuing war against the people of Haiti. Two of them I want to mention are nuns who were educators who were killed on Monday, March 31st, as they were in their school, in their schoolhouse, working, participating in a seminar with other educators, and that Vivre Ensemble group of terrorists came in, took them, and just coldly shot them dead. They and the two of them, along with other attendees of the seminars. And it's important that I mention their names, Sister Jeanne Voltaire and Sister Evanette Onezer. So they are well known in Haiti. Their congregation is well known as people dedicated to education. And the other person I want to say special mention to and salute is a former Mario Joseph in Haiti. He died in a car accident, but he was one of those people who believe very strongly in the rule of law and has brought to justice other members of death squads who have been terrorizing the people. This is going back to for decades now. We are talking about the early 1900s to the present. Unfortunately, he passed away. That was due to an accident, and we lost Mario. And Mario was definitely committed to the rule of law in Haiti, to defend people, and to put away and to have justice reign in Haiti. I also want to mention the special individual, and the reason I'm bringing it down to that level is so that people at least understand, to humanize the struggle taking place in Haiti, the struggle for human dignity. There is also a picture I sent you of a father who that happened about 10 days ago. It's in one of the neighborhoods of Port-au-Prince, I believe in Del Mar, who had witnessed helplessly those Vivre Ensemble death squad terrorists who shot his wife and son or daughter. They didn't specify in the article. And he was so distraught that he knelt in front of a number of police officers and told them to shoot him because he didn't see the point of living anymore. And the officers actually helped him up and hugged him, consoled him. So these are three examples of Haitian society looks like today and what's being widespread throughout Haiti. You mentioned earlier, if this is happening only in a couple of places in Haiti, yes, it's happening in Port-au-Prince, in various neighborhoods. It's happening in the Artibonite region. But other communities like Mirbalais, was attacked about 10 days ago, and that's where the nuns were killed. Also, there is a general alert for the South, particularly the city of Lekai in the South, where, as Brother Ako had mentioned earlier, this guy, Guy Philippe, who was trained by the U.S. at a school, at a U.S. military school in Ecuador. And he is being named as someone who's leading an assault, a similar assault, as the Vivre Ensemble campaign. And they, according to various reports, they are working together on this peaceful city of Lekai in the south, as all the other places have been peaceful, to bring death and destruction to that community. Also, Gonaive has been reported. It's another city up to the north, again by these marauding groups of terrorists to attack and set fire and burn, as I described earlier. So this is something that is spreading throughout the country for very nefarious reasons. Your question earlier dealt with the spirituality of the Haitian people. And this is precisely all this campaign of warfare, meaning physical death, is accompanied by attacks on the culture. For example, in the north, where the original, at the site of the ceremony of the Congress of Bois-Caïman, where Brother Boukman, Doty, and Sister Cécile Fatima assembled, conducted the Congress to call on the Africans who were enslaved to rise up against the French. Well, there is a pastor who went there and is claiming that he has to exorcise that land of the spirit from the spirit of Boukman and the spirit of our foremothers and forefathers, and he wants to build a church there so that to chase away the whole spirit, so to destroy the legacy and this patrimony of the legacy of our people stand for freedom. Also, there is a fort that was built in the community of Dessalines. It's where Dessalines actually eventually lived, where his wife lived, and the fort was there to defend against the return of the French. Well, it appeared on Haitian social media that there is a pastor, an evangelical pastor, who's busy destroying that fort so that they can build a church there. Now, can you imagine
Pierre,
something that's
Pierre,
over? Yes, sir.
If I may interrupt, because that
Please
thing
do.
you talk about Bois-Caïman is a very important thing that a lot of Caribbean people don't know about, right? It's called Boukman's Prayer,
Yes.
right? I want to read it so you could go on so that people
Please
can get
do.
on what Boukman said at Bois-Caïman. And it is a prayer. They were going to battle, and I assume, and he had this prayer, and I will read it. Okay? The God who created the earth, who created the sun that gives us light, the God who holds up the ocean, who makes the thunder roar, our God who has ears to hear, you are hidden in the clouds, who watch us from where you are. You see all that the white man has made us suffer. The white man's God asked him to commit crimes, but the God within us wants us to do good. Our God, who is so good, so just, he orders us to revenge our wrongs. It is he who will direct our arms and bring us victory. It is he who will assist us. We all should throw away the image of the white man's God, who is pitiless. Listen to the voice of liberty that speaks in all our hearts. That was Boukman's prayer.
That's it.
And that is something people don't understand, that in terms of the cultural part and the reinterpretation of God. So these evangelicals that I mentioned, that Brother Pierre mentioned, they are the new Trojan horse of culture and spirituality in the Caribbean. They're everywhere in the Caribbean, right? Interpreting God in a way that undermines our traditional and indigenous cultures. That's what I want to say. Sorry for interrupting, but I think it was important for that.
And I'm so glad that you did. This is a favorite prayer of mine, and I say it every morning. So thank you so very much for saying it this morning. So this is actually what this is all about, and that what I'd mentioned earlier, coming from this member of the elite, and I know Sister YaYa asked me, well, who are these elite folks? who are these members of the elite or the Haitian oligarchy that controls Haiti? Well, after the revolution of 1791 to 1804, Dr. Jacob Carothers had written a book called Haiti, the Irritated Genie. This is a book I highly recommend because it really takes the whole, the views of the masses of black folks who had been enslaved and who were part of the revolution. And it explains their vision of a new society. It made for a complete break with what existed at the time, the system of colonialism and imperialism, and to break with it so that the people can develop their own local industry, their own local culture, to care for each other, to divide the land so that they all could work it collectively for the benefit of each and everyone. That was the vision of the majority population in Haiti. However, after independence, what the French did, they worked with a number of those they had educated in France. They worked with a number of them, those who believe in what we call today globalization. See, the term globalization, it's nothing but a new word for colonialism and imperialism. It's an old wine, old bottle with a new label that they call globalization, but it's the same thing. And so at the time, they worked with this minority to put them back in power. And that started with the assassination of Dessalines. And so they worked with enough of the minority to put them in power and supported them. One of the ways that they did it, and they sealed the fate of Haiti, was about 200 years ago on April 17, 1825, when the French sent a fleet, an armada, demanding that Haiti pay the French government the equivalent of 150 million gold francs. And so that was called the debt of independence, as if we owed the French money after they had enslaved us and killed us and worked us to death. And so the government at the time that was in power was a government of people who had bowed to the French. You see, they were the ones who were part of that assassination, of the killing of the first coup d'etat against Dessalines and against the Haitian people. And they were promoted, they were put in power to do just that. And so the government, since that time, actually was forced. The Haitian people said no to this, but the government was forced with this fleet to also accept the terms of that. So Haiti had been forever tied to this system with this new globalization to pay that money to the French. How did they get the money? They got it from exploiting the peasant population, from the taxes, instead of the taxation going to build schools, hospitals, to build the nation, to invest in infrastructure. It was all going to France. And it wasn't until 1952 that Haiti, according to a number of economists, that Haiti finished paying that money back to the French and the US, which took over part of the debt when it when it overtook Haiti back in 1915 to 1934. So this is part of what the legacy, which is very much alive today, that the people of Haiti are fighting against. And as we are demanding that France return us the money, that the mineral resources that you had asked earlier, Sister YaYa, what's happening with the mineral resources, that the mineral resources of Haiti belong to the Haitian people. Our people are being killed because of their systematic resistance to having their resources plundered, to having their lands being taken over, to Haiti being recolonized. That's what's going on the ground today.
Thanks, Brother Pierre. Brother Akko, your mic is off.
Yeah, one other thing I think contributed to this thing, which your Brother Pierre could elaborate on. When they create the colorism in Haiti, and CLR wrote about it in Black Jacobins, I think there were 16 or something like shades of black. They had octoroons and quadroons and sextoroons. I think a quadroon was quarter black, the octoroon was eight. So they create this system of skin tone, a kind of hierarchical system. I don't know whether Pierre wants to talk about that and how that has contributed to where we are, because a lot of the elites in Haiti today are those light-skinned elements, right, who treat the darker Haitian with contempt.
Precisely. And also, this elite was reinforced by an influx of refugees who came from the Middle East and also from various countries of Europe, escaping the wars that were taking place around the turn of the 19th century, early 20th century, and also during World War II. Some of them came to Haiti, and they were received. Haiti granted them refugee status because they were refugees. And so very quickly, they got a lot of help, financial assistance from the US to really reinforce that class, that ruling elite, that oligarchy, to exploit Black people, to repress Black people in Haiti, and to constitute a kind of an apartheid, create an apartheid system, reinforcing a new an apartheid system. And I'm glad you mentioned that about the Black Code. And President Aristide wrote a book that I highly recommend that people read. It's called Philosophical Reflections for Mental Decolonization. Philosophical Reflections for Mental Decolonization. It was published in Creole initially, early in 2011, 2012, called Poésie philosophique pour décolonisation mentale, in which he used the Black Code that was in operation during the time of colonialism, and that was drilled in daily, in the churches, in daily practices during the colonial period, and continuing, even though with the revolution it was eliminated. However, it continued to be practiced, you see, and to be reinforced in always in the cultural, in the colonialist culture of Haiti. And when the church took over, the Catholic Church had the monopoly on education. Basically, the Black Code was the basis for a lot of the continuing miseducation of the minority that was allowed to go to school. And so it was this minority that has always been in charge of the governments. And this minority never saw the masses of the Haitian people as being brothers and sisters, as being fellow members of this society. They always looked at themselves as if they are as superior to those who didn't speak French, to those who didn't go to school, to the peasants who were producing the wealth but were not getting anything in return. You see? And this is how the what they call neo-colonialism or the new colonialism after independence came to continue to perpetuate itself through our miseducation, the brainwashing. And that's why right now the Haitian people, not right now, they've been engaged ever since the Famille Lavalas party of President Aristide came to power. They've been engaged in a process called mental decolonization. Unless we address the colonizing, the war against our culture, against to look at ourselves as inferior, then we are not dealing, we are missing a significant part of the struggle that we have to deal with.
Thanks, Brother Pierre. We're overdue a break, but I never want to interrupt the floor conversation. Everybody, stay tuned. One of our loyal Zinc Fence live streamers, Sonia Allen, said she did not know. And that she spoke for a lot of people who may not have commented that the information we're going to get today, then truly never know. And trust me, it's designed that way for us not to know our stories as African descendants, racialized as Black people. Within the region, diaspora, continent of Africa, the more we know about ourselves, more than likely it will inspire us to straighten up our back and figure out how is it that I support, participate, being in solidarity with those at home and those abroad for the betterment of African descendants racialized as Black people. Break time.
Tired of replacing light bulbs? LEDs are what you need.
area, 110% release and proud of it, sir. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago, agreement by the slave master, talking about the head and the billies and dollar, because patriots, all people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland, will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland, will never give it up to another nation. This is we we the fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This is we the fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Guatemala. This time me name is Pupa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it, sir. Don't tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head and the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This happy weekend with a fear. Nobody do it to no Guatemala.
Segment of Sunday Review. Brother Mutota co-host and our guest, Brother Pierre LaBossiere. I tell you, you could get some juicy story during break. I tell you. Hi, brother. I got a good story. Tell about that true thing you're telling us. I don't know makeup thing. That true story is like greater than life itself. But some of the things that we were thinking about, or I thought about during the break while I'm listening to the conversation, is the role of, and Brother Akko and I talked about this more once publicly. The role of academians. It's because I got a book and it's a novel about Haitian people, and I got all excited and called Brother Pierre, and Brother Pierre says, Sister YaYa, let me tell you something. I don't know anything about who wrote your book. I'm just telling you that you have academians, and I've never heard this word before. And they're not just academians, because I'm going to listen to the Queen Sister Warriors segment today, and there are two connections. Brother Pierre was saying that you have, let's say, for example, academians or I think establishment, they give anybody airtime and the proper people raise your eyebrow. Because establishment tend to not give genuine community organizers and activists for the most part. Whether on the ground they represent people who don't have no colonial papers most of the time. You know, I said it again, a whole lot of airtime. But once you see people that get a lot of airtime in establishment spaces, raise your eyebrow. So Brother Pierre used the terminology 1804 grave robbers. And then these sisters this morning talked about ancestral treason and that there's a penalty to pay when we betray our African ancestresses and ancestors. So I'll go into Brother Pierre first as it relates to, and they're not just talking, you know. We are people who are living this life. And what happens when you betray our African ancestresses and ancestors? Because a second we there. What's the penalty for that? So I'll ask Brother Pierre that. I'll ask Brother Akko that, and then we have to lock off. Go ahead, Brother Pierre.
Yes. I raise this because one of the things that happened in one of the people who actually participated very fully, when I say one of the people, meaning a sector that participated fully in working with the French, the imperialist French, and the US, and the Canadians to overturn the democratically and popular government of President Aristide and the Lavalas movement. It was the so-called, many of the so-called academians, or they call themselves the intellectual class. I believe there was at least maybe 130, if not more of them, who signed a document called the collective, they call themselves the collective no. And basically what it was is that they sided with the French, the US, Canada, to sabotage the celebration of the commemoration of the 200th anniversary of the success of the Haitian Revolution. They came up with all kinds of schemes and trying to explain it. But basically what it was, the US was opposed to that, so was France and Canada. And they did a job around the world trying to convincing many Black academians and intellectuals and others from Africa, from the diaspora, every place else, not to participate in the celebration, the commemoration, the marking of the 200th anniversary. A similar thing had occurred before in 1904 during the first commemoration of the 100th anniversary of the Haitian Revolution. So this was a repeat of that 200 years later. And so 100 years later, I'm sorry. So we see that. And many of these people have built their careers by being from Haiti, being Haitians. And they write beautiful things about 1804 and blah, blah, blah. And so it's like robbing the graves of our foremothers and forefathers to build their careers, but then they are totally worthless to the people of Haiti today, who are the heroes and sheroes who are keeping Haiti alive and fighting for the same things that our foremothers and forefathers were fighting for back in 1804. You see, and there is this hypocrisy. And to people who do, and they have no connection really with the mass movement in Haiti, with the masses of our people, most of whom do not know how to read and write, have no access to the internet with these people. These people do not connect with them at all. They are not aware of their works. And, so that's the reality of it. But they rob the grave of our ancestors in order to build their careers in academia in the US, Canada, in Europe, and what have you, and they get all the accolades, but nothing connects. And they don't use their status and their stature and their position to advocate for the rights of the people of Haiti, to advocate for the Haitian, for the continuation of Haiti as a nation, and to deal with the daily realities of what's going on in Haiti today. So that's why this thing is really, it's outrageous, and it's so. And the list of those who had signed that infamous document is out there. I promise to send it to you. It's been published in a number of publications because they made it very public. And so I'll stop right there because I know time is short.
Thanks, Brother Pierre, and you could not have said it better. That oftentimes the people anyway, the establishment recognize, hug up with, send money to, pay for their hotel, make them travel, like the sisters were saying this morning on Queen Sister Mother conversation on YouTube. And one of the time that people look like we, like Brother Pierre said in a Haiti case, they're not from Haiti. And so these people are often very disconnected to the people on the ground. And we have that even in our communities. You have area representatives who get politically elected and they're not genuinely representing the interests of the people on the ground. And so when you see a number of leaders, which are one of the reasons why I now have the people over here say we're past spaces where I responsible for, pan the air, I see the traditional people, because I tired of sitting, tired of hearing, just mouthpiecing, and their words not a match with their actions consistently, which is what integrity means. We are human beings, we're flawed, we make errors. But we have to learn from this so that when we move forward, our actions are consistent with our words. And that in a private and in a public. Brother Ako, where was about them people where they commit ancestresses and ancestors' treason?
Well, Sister YaYa, the elites in the Caribbean and Africa always make us believe that their reality is the reality of the society. I remembered when Kofi Annan became the first Secretary General of the UN. An African diplomat got up and made a speech at the UN. And he said in every village and town and city, Africans are proud of Kofi Annan. Some of these people have no radio. They have no running water. You think they care if Kofi Annan is the head of the UN? They don't. But they make you believe that these elites who the European and the Western world perpetrate upon us, right, as heroes, that these people represent our achievement. Those people represent individual achievement. There is some psychological benefit to it, but they are not there to serve our interest. And that is the reality sometimes of the Caribbean. And it's another statement somebody said Nina Simone made. She said they didn't kill Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. We failed to protect them. It's a very distinction. And this is the same thing with the President Aristide. The elites collaborated with the forces that wanted to undermine the independence and freedom of the Haitian people and failed to protect, whether you disagree with him or not, You could not align with forces that historically have always been against you. And you're talking about it not democratic and all of this foolishness. Those are issues that you deal as Haitian people with. You don't bring in these people who want to destroy you and always show an intention to destroy you. And that is what our elites, they have always been traitors to the cause, right? They undermine and subvert the interests of our society, right? By peddling all kind of nonsense, just like the latest nonsense they're peddling is that when the Caribbean, we are in post-colonial. When we are in a total neo-colonial state, and they are telling us we are post-colonial. You know, those are the people who telling you barbecues is a revolutionary. Revolutionaries in the Caribbean get killed, okay, by the intelligence agencies of the metropoles and the North Atlantic Treaty. You don't survive, right? This is the same way the Mobutu Sese Seko, when he came to power, he changed his name from Joseph Mobutu to Mobutu Sese Seko, changed the country to Zaire. And there were black conscious people telling you he's a radical, he's a Pan-Africanist. This man led and destroyed the Congo, total traitor. And these are the roles some of these people are playing in Haiti right now. These are the same roles they're playing in Haiti. In fact, there's a report in which they're now telling you that the rumble in the jungle with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier was part of the CIA plot to support Mobutu Sese Seko. Not only that, there's another report in which Louis Armstrong, when he found out he was asked to do a jazz concert in the Congo, and it later came out that the CIA had organized that, using him to gather information to undermine the revolution movement in the Congo. These are the roles people played in Haiti and in the Caribbean. So this idea that our academics are somehow representing our interests, most of them do not. Because those that represent us, they sabotage them. They make sure they don't get in connection with the people. And as again, I want to end, because I think it was a profound statement I was referred to when Nina Simone said, they didn't kill Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. We failed to protect them. And that is what we are doing to all our heroes and heroes in the Caribbean. We are not protecting them. And we have to get the gumption and the attitude to protect our heroes and heroes in the Caribbean.
Big respect, Brother Akko.
Indeed.
That deep right there, so we have on duty to protect our people who genuinely represent our interests, and oftentimes we fail them. And that's because I just too, brother. We don't even want to talk about the ton load of sister thing. Because oftentimes we don't hear from the sister thing, and that is so. We need to get back to knowing ourselves. We need to get back to knowing our African ancestors and ancestors' concept of a creator. We need to be open to hearing something other than what we were led to believe to be true, and not get so defensive and want. Just listen. Listen to something different. Think for yourself. Ask yourself who the benefit why African descendants racialized as Black people are constantly, as well as indigenous people, being oppressed for generations, and they couldn't do it with one bunch of complicity. The people what I call the elites or the oligarch, I call them the predatory class.
There you go.
They are the predatory class. That's what they are. And so I really want to thank you, Brother Pierre, LaBossiere, Haitian activist.
May I say this real quick? Because I know there is a number of people listening who may want to have access to some sources. I highly recommend President Aristide's book, Eyes of the Heart, by Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Another book of his is Philosophical Reflections for Mental Decolonization. Philosophical Reflections for Mental Decolonization. Also, highly recommend An Unbroken Agony by Randall Robinson. An Unbroken Agony. Haiti from Revolution to the Kidnapping of a President. And I'd mention also Dr. Jacob Carotta's book, The Irritated Genie, And last but not least, there among all the listing, I'm sorry, there is this book called The Making of Haiti, the Saint-Domingue Revolution from Below. And I believe it's by Caroline Fick. I think that's her name. I apologize if I misspelled it. Caroline Fick, The Making of Haiti, the Saint-Domingue Revolution from Below. And of course, people know the great C.L.R. James, Black Jacobins. Those books, I think, will be very helpful for people to understand what's going on in Haiti today. And we have also a website, www.haitysolidarity.net, which is the website of the Haiti Action Committee, www.haitysolidarity.net.
Thanks, Brother Pierre. And they have Instagram and Facebook, social media spaces as well, Haiti Action Committee. And so thanks again, Brother Pierre, for being with us. Brother Ako, Mutota, thank you for taking time out your Sunday morning.
Yeah. Caroline Fick is the author.
Yes, yes.
F-I-C-K.
F-I-C-K. Thank you.
Thanks, Brother Ako. Our security guard was Brother Shane Flowers at XTV. We have Sister Krista Flowers, and downstairs in Creme Radio. Who we have? I don't know who we have. I guess Larry G. I don't know that Larry G. Who we have that? Yeah, Larry G. Larry Guerrero, Larry G. Thanks, Larry G. Working on a Sunday, and we want this show will repeat at 5:30 this evening on the local channel. Remember, you could share the link, XTV Belize on YouTube, XTV Belize on Facebook. Morning, Sherlyn, from the East Coast. I tell them I Belizean people, my diaspora people. I love in a real time when they say, she like my earring. Belizean in the diaspora for many years, but loyal Cremites, people loyal to this media house, and we could not be on the air, we could not be in that space without the power of the people. Like, we're very clear that we fueled by the power of people, and that we are consistently say only the people want to save the people, and that's what we have one duty. Sonia Allen is asking for the links again. So, Brother Pierre, can you give the link again for Haiti Action Committee, please? And then
Yes.
Brother Ako. Go ahead, Brother Pierre.
Yes. Haiti Action Committee, the link is www.haitysolidarity.net. haitysolidarity.net. And we're also on Facebook. And as my sister said, and on Instagram. I don't do social media too much, but that's what we are on. So this is a good link to. Thank you.
Brother Pierre. Brother Ako?
So I want to just emphasize again to acquire the books that Brother Pierre mentioned, but I also want to say something. I was in a conversation a couple of days ago with another brother, and he was telling someone to read a book called Without Sanctuary. It's about lynchings and killings of Black Americans. And this brother, very religious, said he don't want to read that because it makes him angry. And part of the problem with our people, we'll read about the Holocaust and we get angry about what happened to the Jews, but we refuse to get angry about what happened to our own people. We need to shift this, what I call false sense of justice, right? And make our own conditions, our own history, primary to our responses emotionally and otherwise. So support those books that Brother Pierre, I know those books, I've read some of them, support those books and stop getting ourselves in this state that where we could be angry at everybody else's causes, but not our own situation.
Respect, Brother Ako. I'm in solidarity with you and that. Asha, I know, once Brother Pierre start to name our book, Brother Ako got something to say. Remember here, your partner own a number of bookstores, Black bookstores. They were more than a bookstore, even though I know that I remember that name from look, I just gone blank from London.
La Rose.
Yes, but forget the bookstore name just that quick.
Beacon.
New Beacon Books. Goodness, yeah. New Beacon Book Tag is more than a bookstore. Brother Ako and Sister Fanta lived. Their bookstores were more than a bookstore. They were the community centers for people to rest and get restored mind, body, spirit as African beings. So Big respect to everybody who tune in. Remember, there's no Sunday review next Sunday. Hey, Brother Akko. We have next Sunday now.
I could go on kayak next Sunday.
Yes, we could go kayak next Sunday. Until the following Sunday, Belizeans, make good choices, keep hot. I hope when I come back and report on Belizean win cross country. I really hope on Belizean win cross country. But until then, only the people want to save the people.
Save the people.
Indeed.
Thank you all.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Guatemala, Flamino, this time we we don't figure. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This time me name is Pupa. Belize me come from the Belize City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. So don't tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Country bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This time we don't fear. Nobody do it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This time we don't fear.